They tried to silence me until the White House stepped in. True story, I never thought that speaking up would put my entire career and sanity on the line. But the day I walked into the offices of Ferris and Lane Consulting, I knew I'd just stepped into a different kind of battleground. I was one of only 3 black employees at the entire firm, and it didn't take long to realize I wasn't just hired for my talent. I was their diversity trophy. At first, I tried to ignore the microaggressions, the way my colleagues mispronounced my name on purpose, or how they'd suddenly grow silent when I entered a meeting room. I figured I'd keep my head down, prove my worth, and earn their respect. But when I started getting excluded from high-profile projects I had helped build from the ground up, and watched my ideas get credited to others, I couldn't stay quiet anymore. The tipping point came when I found an internal memo, mistakenly sent to me, where senior partners discussed how hiring urban talent helped them meet diversity metrics without compromising client comfort. I was furious, but I knew I needed more than just emotion to make a case. So I began documenting everything: emails, meeting notes, discrepancies in pay, project assignments, and HR reports that mysteriously vanished after complaints. I confided in my direct manager, hoping she'd back me up. But instead, I was pulled from all client-facing work within a week. My workload dried up overnight, my performance reviews tanked without warning, and whispers started circulating that I was combative and difficult. It was the classic playbook: isolate, gaslight, erase. That's when I knew I had to go bigger. I filed a formal complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and when I didn't just hand them my evidence. I handed them a map of systemic discrimination buried deep in the company's operations. What I didn't know was that a journalist had caught wind of the EEOC filing and began digging into the firm's history. Within weeks, the story exploded. My name was redacted, but inside the office, everyone knew it was me. The retaliation hit a new level. IT accidentally wiped my company laptop, my keycard stopped working, and HR placed me on an unexplained administrative leave. But the more they pushed, the harder I fought. I hired a civil rights attorney and filed a lawsuit, not just for wrongful termination, but for racial discrimination, defamation, and emotional distress. The day we stepped into court, I was terrified. Not because I doubted the truth, but because I knew how hard it was to win a case like this. The courtroom was packed, and the firm's lawyers came armed with every trick in the book. They painted me as unstable, ungrateful, and dishonest. But then came the bombshell. My attorney revealed a whistleblower, an anonymous senior employee, who testified via video that everything I said was true. Not only had the company engaged in racist hiring practices, but they had also manipulated data to dodge regulatory audits. The judge paused the proceedings for a federal inquiry. Within 48 hours, the Department of Labor opened an investigation, and to everyone's shock, the White House issued a public statement calling for greater scrutiny into workplace discrimination in white-collar firms. The media frenzy that followed was overwhelming. My story became a lightning rod for national conversations about equity, tokenism, and the modern face of corporate racism. Despite the pressure, I gave my first interview, face uncovered, voice steady. I said, "This was never just about me. It's about every person who's ever been told to be grateful just for being in the room, while being denied the seat at the table they earned." That quote went viral. Within weeks, other employees from different firms came forward with similar stories, and I was invited to speak at forums, panels, and universities. But more than the attention, what mattered most was the legal outcome. Ferris and Lane settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, but part of the settlement mandated the implementation of transparent hiring policies, independent audits, and a mandatory board review on inclusion practices. The firm's managing partner stepped down, and a federal monitor was appointed to oversee internal reforms for the next 5 years. I didn't win back the years of gaslighting, of missed promotions, or of the dignity they tried to strip away, but I gained something greater: agency, justice, and the knowledge that my voice could move systems. Even Sergeant Riley, the security guard who once escorted me out of the building without explanation, later reached out to apologize, saying my courage had changed how he viewed silence in the face of injustice. I've since founded an advocacy group that supports professionals navigating discrimination in the workplace, helping them find resources, legal counsel, and the strength to speak up. Because if I learned anything through this ordeal, it's that change doesn't come from waiting. It comes from confronting the storm, even when your voice shakes. And while I wouldn't wish this battle on anyone, I now understand that telling the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, can be the first domino in toppling an empire built on silence. If this story moved you, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more real, raw, and powerful stories that challenge the status quo. Your support helps us amplify voices that deserve to be heard. Until next time, stay brave, stay loud, and never let anyone dim your light.